Well, I'll tell you what, after watching that movie, I think I know what my wish would be. I wish I could forget having watched that movie. Oh my god. I'm happier. I don't believe it. I don't have to remember this awful movie. Wait. But doesn't this mean I'm going to lose something precious? Does that mean I'm going to forget my favorite piece of media? No. No, that can't be. What the heck? What's this key with the mouse symbol on it? That just looks weird. What the heck is this? What's up guys, Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Wonder Woman 1984. So I didn't come into this completely blind. I did know the overall opinion of this movie was that it was terrible, which I try not to hear people's opinions on most of the stuff that I'm planning to watch, because I don't want my own personal opinions to be skewed by that. So I did try to put that aside. I tried to go into this completely fair, but man does it start off pretty poor. And first of all, you've got young Diana competing in this tournament or something. I don't even know what it's supposed to be. And then she loses because she cheats. And that's, I guess, supposed to be the moral of the story. You have to go through everything. You can't cheat your way through life, which is what Maxwell Lord tries to do, basically wishing for everything. But then from there, it just gets worse. This whole scene where these guys are trying to rob a mall, or I guess a store at the mall. And then this one guy out of nowhere freaks out because they're about to be caught. And so he goes and grabs a little girl and threatens to throw her over a ledge. So first of all, writers, what was going through your head to put that into the script? I truly want to know, what was the thought process there for you? What made you go, yes, this is something a guy would do if he was about to get caught? He would threaten to throw a little girl over the edge because he doesn't want to go back to prison. What is that supposed to do? Because, he can't get away now without dropping her, but if he drops her, then they're going to probably shoot him. But if he goes to hand her back, then they're going to catch him anyway. Most of the time, it's guys threatening to kill themselves so they don't have to go to prison. That tends to be what happens in real life. So I don't know what was going on here, but he decides to do this, and then all the robbers alongside him start freaking out, telling him to stop. This one guy, oh my god, the older guy who seemed to be, I think, the head of the operation, his reaction was borderline Disney Channel. And I say that not like it's almost down to Disney Channel level. I'm saying it was almost up to Disney Channel level. It was that bad. I don't think there has been a worse no screamed since Revenge of the Sith. It is that bad. And then Wonder Woman shows up to save the day, and the effects are terrible. And I guess I'll go ahead and start talking about the movie as a whole. The effects are awful in this. So many moments where nothing looks like it's real. And for a movie that has the budget that this probably did, there's no excuse for that. I can't say it was the worst CGI I've ever seen in a superhero movie, but it was pretty bad. The fight scenes as well, there's just nothing exciting about it. You got this opening one, you got her fighting the guys on the road with all the trucks and everything. I'll get to that one in a minute, because there's several things I gotta talk about in that scene. The fight between her and Barbara at the White House, the fight between her and Barbara at this bunker, and then there's not even a fight with Maxwell Lord. She just uses Talk no Jutsu on him, which, no, I'm not a Naruto fan, I just know about Talk no Jutsu. But none of these fight scenes felt like they had any weight to them, like physical weight. Everybody's just kind of moving around all floaty like. None of the hits feel really powerful. They just feel like people being pulled around on wires, which is probably how it worked, but that's not how a fight scene should feel, though. It should feel like people are actually getting hit. But now we can talk about the acting, because a lot of it was pretty poor. Obviously, starting with our main character, probably the worst. When you want to talk about the beauty and grace of a goddess, with the acting of Tommy Wiseau, that is Gal Gadot. She is that bad. So many of her scenes were laughable, how bad her acting was in this. I feel like it worked for her in the first Wonder Woman movie because she did seem less human. She didn't really understand the human world. And so the fact that she didn't feel completely human made sense. But a lot of her acting seemed downplayed. It felt like fish out of water, but that was the point of the movie, is she was. She wasn't used to feeling pain, feeling sorrow, feeling all these human emotions that we're all used to. So it worked for her there. Here, she's been living in this world for a lot longer. She should be a lot more normal. She is not at all. She's still very awkward. A lot of her sad scenes look goofier than Tobey Maguire's Peter crying at Uncle Ben's death. Just none of it feels real. And everybody else, they're just okay. None of them really stood out. I didn't really feel any of them were super believable. Kristen Wiig as Barbara, I feel like I've only ever really seen her be good in comedies, so it felt weird to have her be in this where some parts were supposed to be more comedic, but this didn't feel like a comedy. And so when she's supposed to be a lot more serious, I just didn't really buy a lot of her scenes. Pedro Pascal as Maxwell Lord, this might be the worst performance I've seen from him personally, out of all the stuff that I've watched him in. I think the funniest moment from him came at the end of the movie, whenever he finally decides to renounce his wish. I don't know what it was about it, but the way he was like, I renounce my wish. It just looks so goofy to see him run off the way he did after so quickly delivering what's supposed to be an impactful line. This guy who gave up so much, who put himself through hell trying to get all of this power because he wanted to grant wishes while also giving himself all of this in return. This super impactful moment leads to, I'll renounce my wish, and then just running off in the blink of an eye. It was so funny. And then Chris Pine in this just kind of felt like a passenger, to be perfectly honest. Like, his character in general felt like a passenger to everything. And I'll talk about the story as a whole in a minute. But yeah, he was supposed to kind of be playing the Diana role from the first one, where she's all interested in this world and everything that's in it. Now he's all interested in this world of the future and everything that's in it. They even do a recreation of him trying on all the clothes like she did in the first movie. So I thought a couple of scenes were fine, but for the most part, he was just sort of there. Kind of felt like he was on autopilot. Yeah, let's talk about the story because it's just really, really dumb. Find this stone that's supposed to be granting wishes. Somehow Maxwell Lord finds out about it. He knows everything about it, so he steals it from Barbara, decides to become it himself, granting all these people wishes and taking stuff from them in return, which is what the stone does. And it's basically him trying to grant everybody's wish so he can take more from them. Just feels kind of weird. I don't really understand why that's supposed to help him in the long run. Barbara kind of felt like she was just Jamie Foxx's Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, she's nerdy, nobody really pays attention to her, oh, she's so clumsy, blah, blah, blah. And then she gets a wish to be like Diana, not realizing that Diana is Wonder Woman, so she starts getting powers, she looks more appealing to everybody, but it takes away the humanity side of her, which at some point turns her into Cheetah. Like, it made sense that, yeah, she was becoming less and less human because that was the one precious side to her, was her humanity. As Diana puts it, her warmth and her love. Okay, I guess that makes sense why she kind of turns into a bad guy with these powers now. But then to turn into a literal cheetah? Where did that come from? The only point where she even talks about that is on the plane with Maxwell Lord. She says she wants to be an apex predator, but she already got her one wish. So that should not have been a second wish that then turns her into a literal predator. It makes no sense at all. In fact, she's in her normal clothes one minute, watching Maxwell talk to the entire world in his little press conference, and then she goes outside to deal with Wonder Woman, and she's the cheetah. How did that happen? We don't know. She just did. And ultimately, at the end, we don't even see what happens to her. She just turns back human. So I'm guessing she renounced her wish. We don't see her do that either. And I'll be perfectly honest, I was kind of looking at my phone by the end of it. So if that final scene where Diana's walking around seeing all of the beauty of life and everything, if in that little montage of her looking around, if Maxwell and Barbara were in there somewhere, I might have accidentally looked at my phone and missed it. So I guess somebody can tell me, do we see what happens to Maxwell and to Barbara after Wonder Woman saves the day? Because the last thing I remember from Maxwell, he was hugging his child, so he doesn't seem to get any sort of comeuppance for all of this shit he did. And then Barbara, we see her turn back human, she's crying, and then we don't see what happens to her. So yeah, for Diana, it's a pretty basic story. She gets her wish, she wishes Steve would come back. He does in the body of some other guy, which should raise a lot of alarm bells, but instead she's just like, oh, I'm so happy to have him back. That's what you want your hero to do. Basically be okay with sacrificing this guy's life so you can get your love back. That's a heroic thing. But it's a basic story. She realizes that she has to let him go because it's not reality. It's a wish that she has, but you have to move on when you lose somebody. And then on top of that, she's losing her powers because of the wish. So it just feels like a basic learning to let go storyline, which ironically Marvel's Ironheart could have learned a bit from this story. So yeah, bare bones story, not much interesting stuff happens in this one. Like I said, the bad guy is defeated because Diana just talks to everybody and convinces them to renounce their wish, including Maxwell, which I will also say they did not do a good job of building him up as a character, because we get this really rushed scene at the end where they're like, oh, here's his backstory. Here's his dad was abusive. He peed the bed because of it. And so that's why he is the way he is. And it's because he wants to save his son, who he's pretty much neglected for most of the movie. Now all of a sudden he's like, no, I want to be a good dad. That's why I'll renounce my wish. It just really comes out of nowhere. And it's something they should have built up a bit more. We should have seen his backstory before the end. So that way we get a better understanding of why he is so focused on trying to grant everybody's wish. Either that or just don't make him sympathetic and have him be defeated by his own hubris or something like that. But they did like this weird thing where he's been nothing but egotistical for the whole movie, and then suddenly at the end we're supposed to care about him and want to see him turn it around and renounce his wish. It was not very well handled. But let's talk about some of the stupid scenes in the movie, because there were quite a few. And these are moments that were so dumb that they did make me chuckle. I will give it that. I had heard from some people that this movie was so bad it made them laugh. I can understand that, because there were several. So I already talked about the moment at the beginning with the guy screaming no in a very overdramatic fashion. This is something that's been in movies for a long time, but they had it in this one too, and I thought it was really dumb. Diana wakes up, Steve is sitting there eating Pop-Tarts in bed, because he's been awake for a few hours, and they almost immediately go to making out. Can we stop doing that? I think everybody knows morning breath is a thing. You wake up, you don't smell great. Like, maybe you give him a kiss on the cheek, maybe a light kiss, but most people don't make out right first thing in the morning because their breath smells terrible. You got the moment whenever they decide they're going to take a jet across the world so they can get to Egypt quickly to catch up with Maxwell. So many things about this. First of all, Steve can just suddenly fly this plane that has a bunch of updated instruments. This is a jet. He flew planes back in, the 40s? I'm pretty sure in a few decades they made a lot of improvements to planes that he would not know how to fly this thing. But he does. And then as they're going to start shooting at it, Diana starts talking about, oh, my father used to make the Themyscira invisible. I've been trying to work on this spell to do it. And all I can think is, wait, we're getting the invisible jet and it's because she makes it invisible with a magic spell? Yep. And not only that, she apparently did it once on a coffee cup. And now she could do it to a whole jet, which not only makes it invisible, it also makes it completely silent, apparently. Don't know how that makes sense, but it does. But I just love the fact, because all I could think is, so let me get this straight. The kids movie, The Incredibles, we see Violet, she's made some force fields, but nothing big enough to cover a whole plane, so she doesn't do it. It takes Elastigirl saving their lives to save them from the missiles. They don't have her just suddenly go, I can do this, and create a whole force field around a plane. But this movie, which is supposed to be more for adults, maybe some kids can watch it, but this is supposed to be more of an adult movie. And they have her go from, I've done it to a coffee cup one time, to, I can do it to this whole giant jet. The amount of times that I've sat here and thought to myself, how is it that the media that's for kids, these cartoons, whether it's Disney, whether it's DC cartoons, whether it's Marvel, Star Wars, so many of these animated series that do seem like they're more so for kids, somehow they end up being more mature than the stuff that's supposed to be for adults. I don't know how that works, but it happens more often than not. And this was another great example. On top of that, they then fly through fireworks. Yeah, that's not dangerous at all. But so now we get to, they're in Egypt, and there's this whole car chase scene. There is so much about this that was so ridiculous. First of all, paying off a taxi driver to take his taxi instead of Diana just, flying after or running after. She couldn't fly at this point, but just running after them. No, we have to drive a taxi because, yeah, she's definitely slower than a taxi. But what I find hilarious, they start shooting at the taxi. Apparently the taxi is kind of bulletproof. They take a ton of bullets and only one goes through the windshield. Most of them go through like the hood of the car and it keeps driving. So I guess they missed the engine and all of the stuff in the hood that could possibly make the car stop moving. They just missed all of that, apparently. Or the hood's just bulletproof. Don't know which. One of those two is true. But she gets out of the car to go run after them, which she should have done from the beginning. And Steve just keeps driving after them as if he can do something in a taxi, which ironically he does somehow. But it kicks off with they shoot a bullet at her. She dodges it as it flies back right at Steve's head. She uses her whip to grab that one bullet and throw it away. The thing is, this was not like a sniper rifle where you shoot one bullet and that's it. No, he was on a machine gun turret. So that one bullet is going to be followed by probably about 100 shortly after. But that one bullet, that's the only one that she needed to stop for some reason. Don't understand that. She then goes and jumps on one of the trucks, grabs the steering wheel, tosses it away, and then looks at the guy. The brakes still work. What? You're really concerned about this guy to the point where you're willing to tell him, hey, by the way, just in case you didn't know, as you're driving this, the brakes on your truck, it still works. It was hilarious about that to me, is that she seems so concerned about keeping this guy alive, but then she goes and destroys all these other vehicles to the point where most of them probably died. But for some reason, this one truck, she wanted to make sure this guy knew he could be saved by just hitting the brakes. But Steve also, he hits the back of like a tank almost with a taxi, which then allows him to jump from the taxi onto the back of this. He then starts kicking at a gun that's sticking out of this, I don't even know what to call it, but it's like a hood. Like I said, this truck was built like a tank. So the little hatch on top that has the gun, yeah, they have another little hole. He starts kicking at that gun instead of, I don't know, just pulling it out or something, or even just trying to open up the hatch and deal with the guy inside. And you got a few more moments. At first, I thought it was dumb before I realized that she was losing her powers because of her wish. So there were several moments where I'm thinking, wait, you're super strong. Why can you not just kick these trucks away? But then after, whenever they start talking about she's getting weaker, I'm like, okay, that explains it. Steve also comes in, somehow manages to take over one of the trucks. Don't even see him do it. He just does it and like blocks another truck from squishing her. And so then we get to how this all comes to an end. There are kids in the road that all these trucks are careening towards. So we see Steve puts a little missile, not even that big of a missile either, like basically the size of my arm. He puts it into the truck he's in, shoots it off, she lassos it, which somehow pulls her, even though it's not a big missile. It somehow manages to pull her faster over the trucks to grab the kids. She lassos both of them, but then because she's getting weaker, she loses the grip on her lasso and the missile, and then falls with the kids in her arms. Somehow the kids are perfectly okay. The reason why is because the kids are mannequins, very obviously. There's one point she landed, I'm like, that kid's not even real. You can clearly see it's just a little mannequin she's holding. But in real life, the kids would be dead. She lands hard on the ground with them in her arms. And she doesn't land like on her back holding them. She lands with them face down onto the ground. And that brings an end to the scene because Steve then stops before he hits them. It was just so ridiculous. It had to be one of the stupidest funny moments I've ever seen in any action movie because of all the ridiculous things that happened. But the only other moment that was so stupid it was kind of funny had to be at the end whenever she's fighting against Cheetah. She shows up in this winged suit, which is so funny to me because she doesn't even hardly use it. She basically shows up in it, fights off a few guys, and then after Cheetah kind of does some damage to it, she then loses the wings. So I'm thinking, why didn't you just fly to the bunker? Why'd you have to go back to your place to put this on? That just wasted more time. You didn't even hardly use the wings in battle. But what I find hilarious about all of this, like I said, Cheetah's doing some damage to the wings, which doesn't really make any sense since this armor's supposed to be super, super strong. I would think indestructible would be probably one of the descriptions of it. And yet Cheetah's just sitting there denting the armor without really much force. She's just going ham on it. So after like a couple minutes of that, she then finally, because she's been doing nothing but defending, she's just been putting up the block the entire time. No counterattacks, no trying to hit her away. She's just blocking for some reason. So I find it hilarious. She finally does do a little bit of a counter. She pushes her back, spreads the wings out, which look awful now because they're all dented, drops them, and then all of a sudden Barbara stands up shocked. Like, no. You renounced your wish. What? You just now realized that? It took you a couple minutes of fighting her, watching her come down and murk all the guys that are around. She's very clearly blocking your every attack. Yes, it's the wings doing it. But still, you could tell by the way she's blocking you, she's no longer weak. She's got her strength back. And yet that one attack and her dropping the wings and showing herself in all of her glory. That's the moment when Barbara goes, wait a minute, I'm just putting two and two together here. You renounced your wish. It's so dumb. And then to top it all off, they go into the water. There's an electric cable that's about to go zap on the water. Diana's still trying to get through to Barbara, telling her she needs to renounce her wish. She says no. And so Diana just says, okay, then I'm sorry then. Brings her to the water to get zapped and electrocuted. That's our hero, ladies and gentlemen. Barbara doesn't die from it somehow. I don't know if Diana knew that she was going to survive that, but it very much had the Batman Begins feeling of, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you. And also, how is she not affected? Like, I'm sure that probably has to do with her powers. She's not affected by electricity or something like that. It just felt kind of weird, though. Oh, man. But yeah, I had a good laugh. I had a good laugh at this one. There's probably another scene that I forgot about in between there. So yeah, this was definitely, though, a really, really bad movie. As much fun as I had laughing at a lot of the stupid stuff in it, it's very much like when you watch The Room. And I will say, a production company like Warner Brothers making these big DC movies, as much money as went into this, they should not be making a movie that's on par with The Room. So as much fun as I had with it, I will also say that's embarrassing for Warner Brothers. That their movie was so bad that it was actually laughable. Somebody needed to be fired after this. And maybe they did. I don't know. Obviously, it's no longer the DCEU anymore. Now it's James Gunn's DCU. So maybe this was one of the final nails in the coffin that led to that decision. But yeah, this was absolutely atrocious. A good time if you just want to laugh at some stupid stuff. But if you're here for a good movie, if you're here for a fun action movie, you're not going to get it. I think that'll do it for me. So with all that being said, cue the outro. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that review. I hope you enjoyed it. First and foremost, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I love having discussions with people, so whatever your thoughts were, whether you agree or disagree with me, please leave them down below. Obviously, no spoilers. Also, if you did find yourself enjoying this review and you want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps me out. I also have a gaming channel as well as a channel where I talk about soccer, so if you want to give those a follow as well, that would be much appreciated. And lastly, if you want to help me improve upon the quality of these channels, I do have a Patreon. All of this is in the description below. With all that being said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.